Good evening, everyone. Before we start off our reporting, and before we start off our reporting, may I recap our following discussions from the past? So, things like economics, global trade, politics, and long distance communication comes into our mind when we think about globalization. But there's another key component in globalization which significantly impacts our spiritual life, which is, of course, none other than the impact of religion worldwide. Hi, my name is Regina Mariel Siquilio, and we are Group 2 presenting our topic, the globalization of religion.
Now let's head to the introduction. So please, next slide. Next slide. For the introduction part, religion has played a very important role in globalization. It has played a pivotal role in the process of globalization, shaping cultural exchanges and societal dynamics. Aspect of globalization, shaping religious landscapes across regions. World religions serve as a lens to understand the complex relationship between global regions, including the global north and south and the east and west. This dynamic interplay underscores the multifaceted nature of globalization's impact on religious beliefs and practices. Evolving religious paradigms. Global, local, or global world religions are evolving in response to globalization, blending cultural influences and transcending traditional boundaries. Multicultural hybrids, local religious transnationalism, and cross-cultural connections are increasingly prevalent, reflecting the diverse and interconnected nature of our globalized world. These evolving religious paradigms underscore the ongoing dialogue between tradition and modernity in the context of globalization. Next slide. And now we will be discussing some of the religions, exploring their key tenets, global presence, and its impact. Let's start with Christianity. This faith centers around the belief in Jesus Christ as the Son of God and has over 2.4 billion followers worldwide, divided into branches such as Roman Catholicism, Eastern Orthodoxy, and Protestantism. Judaism, on the other hand, next slide, is characterized by its monotheistic beliefs, with the Torah as its foundational text. It is also considered an ethno-religious group with a global population estimated at around 14 million. And now, next slide. Moving on to Islam. This is the second largest religion globally, with 1.7 billion adherents. Muslims believe in the Quran as the word of God and follow the teachings of Prophet Muhammad, with Sunni and Shia being the two main branches. So while each of these religions has its unique beliefs and practices, they also share commonalities, such as belief in God and a shared heritage tracing back to Abraham.
let's proceed with the Confucianism. It's a philosophical and ethical system which originates in China around the 5th century BCE and has significantly influenced Chinese culture, society, and governance for over 2 millennia, which also emphasizes filial piety, righteousness, benevolence, sincerity, ritual, and propriety, and the cultivation of moral virtues. Confucianism has also influenced the political and cultural landscape of East Asia, including Korea, Japan, and Vietnam. Its influence has evolved alongside modernization and globalization, which shapes traditional Chinese values and ethics, as well as shaping the political and cultural landscape of countries like Korea, Japan, and Vietnam. Next slide. So, how globalization impacts Confucianism? It has prompted to adapt to modern context while spreading its values beyond East Asia. It also fosters cultural exchange, enriching Confucian thought through interaction with diverse perspectives. However, globalization also brings critics, particularly concerning individual rights and gender equality, which sparks debates about cultural compatibility with universal values. And its impact on global dynamics profoundly influences by fostering economic integration, cultural exchange, and technological advancement. Overall, globalization presents both opportunities and obstacles for nations and communities worldwide. Next slide. We have here now the Taoism. No, pa-back pa ng slide, yung previous pa. Ayan. So we have here the Taoism, which originates in ancient China, uh, philosophical and spiritual tradition based on the teachings of Lao Tzu, the author of the Tao Te Ching. The key concepts includes the central concept of Tao or Dao, which represents the unnameable principle that governs the universe. Wu Wei, meaning non-action or effortless action, which emphasizes the naturalness, simplicity, and spontaneity. The concept of yin yang, representing complementary opposites, is essential for alignment with the Tao. Ziran or self soul emphasizes living in accordance with one's innate nature and the natural order of the universe. Taoism also includes practices for inner vitality in spiritual enlightenment, often involving meditation, breathing exercises, and visualization techniques. So, how globalization impacts Taoism? We have the positive and the negative sides. The positive side, it has led to increased awareness of Taoism globally through the spread of information via the internet, the books, and the media. This has made Taoist principles and practices accessible to people worldwide. Additionally, it has facilitated cultural exchange, which allows people from different backgrounds to learn about Taoism. And the negative or the downside of it has sparked commercialization of Taoism, with aspects of the tradition commodified for profit, potentially diluting its spiritual essence and causing misinterpretation. It has gained global popularity, which rise a risk of cultural appropriation, where elements are used out of context or inappropriately. Next slide. Lastly, we have the Shintoism. It's a Japanese indigenous religious system that is deeply rooted in the country's history, culture, and spirituality. The term Shinto comes from the Chinese characters Shin, meaning gods, and To meaning way or path. Shinto emphasizes the worship of kami, divine spirits or gods associated with natural phenomena and ancestors. Shinto practices includes rituals and shrines, rituals at shrines, purification ceremonies, food offerings, prayers, and festival also. It also plays a significant role in Japanese cultural events and traditions such as weddings and coming of age ceremonies. So, how globalization impacts Shintoism? Next slide. Po. It has significantly influenced Shintoism by increasing awareness and understanding of its beliefs and practices. This is facilitated by the travel, the international media, and the internet, which provides global access to information about Shinto traditions. However, this has also led to challenges to traditional Shinto practices, as exposure to other cultures may question some certain aspects. And additionally, increased tourism to Japan has raised questions about cultural appropriation. And its impacts on global dynamics. It now participates in interfaith dialogue, contributing to discussions on religion, spirituality, and ethics. Shinto shrines attract international visitors, promoting global tourist and cultural exchange. It also contributes to Japan's soft power on the global stage, as its cultural exports often incorporate references to Shinto themes and imagery, shaping perceptions of Japan and influencing global trends in popular culture. Next slide.
So considerations beyond the secularization debate. Religion, being an inter and cross-disciplinary science of learning, was brought about its importance in the contemporary times because it has with it the context of philosophy, sociology, history, and psychology. Each of these fields has its own organizational structure. Example are the AAR, or American Academy of Religion, Association for Sociology of Religion, American Sociology Association, Society for the Scientific Study of Religion, and International Society for the Sociology of Religion. What is the dominant debate of these associations and societies? It is the term secularization in the modern world. These are about four basic questions need to be addressed. One, what is the scope of secularization? Two, what is the nature of secularization? Three, as to what extent is the secularization process? And number four, what parameters involved in secularization? Grace Davies' notion of secularization is a vicious religion. Rodney Stark's notion of secularization is a folk religion, a popular religion, a contemporary spirituality, a superstition. In Western Europe, secularization is understood as a paradigmatic, a phenomena for religion not subject to any global patterns. In the United States, secularization is understood as a global pattern of religiosity, not a subjective parochialism. Actually, the modern world is a concrete manifestation of secularization. This is because there was a radical shift from the medieval world, a world where the religiosity of among faithful have declined and there was an occurrence of separation between the church and the state. In in the medieval times, the Western people were not ignorant of God, and must have faith in God and phenomena. But today, to have faith in God is just an option, meaning it's up to you to believe or not to believe. In this sense, secularization can be tested to understood a shift of human condition to choose or to have a choice, even the unknown. The ideas are as follows. It is a post-secular society, meaning a religion that was created by the ancient and medieval people, makes a return in many forms to the public from where it was cast out during the modern era. In short, it is termed as the religious fundamentalism. In consequence, there is now public flagging of the confession of faith. Example, we confess that we believe and yet we do not practice what we believe. Like in the case of post-Soviet Russia, 82% Russians called themselves Orthodox, but only 42% of them are believers of the 50% Orthodox non-believers. 42% are atheists. In Great Britain, religious flagging was expressed as believing without belonging. It is an active project, secularization in Western societies, meaning religion is not a product of cultural exchange, economic changes, and of political changes, but simply of the outcome of social action. In short, religion is no other than social action. This means religion is byproduct of cultural roles of traditions and culture, the conventional idea of secularization and the traditional religion were of two dimensions: institutional dimensions of religion, and lastly, individual dimensions of religion. Next slide, please.
As it is defined by sociology of religion, globalization is the universalization of an institution, where religion is adopted universally as the world homogenizes itself in a diverse pool of culture and society. Globalization is a movement where all parts of the world are becoming tied into one globally extended social unit. Based on Robertson's definition of globalization, it is the compression of the boundaries of geographical space into a single geographical space. Uh, Hello? Am I audible again po?
Okay na.
Okay.
Continue.
As the world continues to accelerate at a great pace, religious leaders are increasingly demanding that globalization be integrated into the cultural fabric of society. Wait lang po. Nawawala po ulit. Mhm.
Okay, to continue, globalization is the universalization of an institution where religion is adopted universally as the world homogenizes itself in a diverse pool of culture and society. So, globalization is a movement where all parts of the world are becoming tied into one globally extended social unit, which is why Robertson, in his definition of globalization, mentioned that the world is compression, shrinking, and in search of fundamentals. But what does he mean when the world is currently searching for fundamentals? So, as the world continues to accelerate at a great pace, religious leaders are um, evaluate, evaluating the trend of globalization as a challenge and possibly a manifestation of evil in the world. For example, the exchange of weapons, increasing technology, and many more. A great portion of globalization tends to overlook religion, but in fact, religion contributes to the global migration and reconstruction of eth- ethnicities. And according to Hans Kung, I think it's in the next slide na. Okay. And according to Hanscom, not only does a globalized world require a guiding global ethic, but it also needs another key to development, which includes harmonious relations and dialogues. So we can see this becoming applied to religious pluralism, where different religions, despite having their differences, communicate on how to make things better for the world. So here are the two interpretations of religion and globalization. First, it is the spread of religion and other religious expression across the globe, that religion is the product of a long-term process of inter-civilization of cross-cultural interaction. And the second one, it is the place of religion with the context of globalization. It's the relational impact of globalization upon religion, which and makes religion a transnational institution where it extends independently outside of political and economic jurisdiction and binds diversely cultured religions. We also have the two strategies of religion in front of globalization, which is first the cultural defense, meaning even a religion rejects globalization from its trends, events, and impulse. Still, this religion is shaped by globalization. And in fact, religion is forced to respond to a newly found situations. The other term is resa cla- resacralization. So it is the process of globalization where religion transcends as they go towards Europe or awakening spiritual beliefs within the continent. And the second one, last, is the active engagement, meaning religions engages the event, trend, and impulse of globalization. To this result, it is interconnectivity and intertwining of religious expressions. They actively engage in marginalized communities and to less powerful populations as they seek inclusion in the society. Next slide.
And for the last part of our presentation, we will talk about the understanding of transnational religion and globalization, where we will delve into the fascinating interplay between faith and globalization. Let's start by defining transnationalism in religion. It refers to the maintenance of cultural, social, and economic connections across national borders, particularly in the context of migration. The territorialism, on the other hand, involves the movement of faith beyond its traditional geographic boundaries. An example of this is the Flores de Mayo procession in New York City, where a Filipino religious tradition is celebrated in a different cultural context. Transnational religion goes beyond individual beliefs. It involves institutional transnationalism, where communities outside their homeland maintain ties to their religious institutions. An excellent example is Orthodox Christianity, which has a global presence despite being a minority faith in many regions. Slide. Localization refers to the blending of global and local elements within a particular cultural context. In Christianity, this phenomenon manifests in various ways: indigenization, vernacularization, nationalization, and transnationalism. These processes have significant implications for modernization and secularization as religious adapts to new cultural and social realities while retaining its core beliefs. So this is the end of the presentation. Thank you for all the attention throughout this presentation.